What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy. It is Guardy3, and welcome to the Meaty Boyz podcast. Now, normally I have Gene with me, but man, he's a very busy guy. He's currently playing some softball tonight. I wish him the best of luck. Mo Betta is a little busy right now, so hopefully we'll be not only having Gene back next week, and hopefully we'll be able to introduce some new people in the next couple of weeks. So, once again, this is the Meaty Boyz podcast. My name is Guardy3, and I'm here to talk professional wrestling. So, without any further ado, let's kick it. Thank you for everybody, tuning in live now. I'm also live on TikTok if you want to check me out there. So, why don't we get started? We had a lot of wrestling to talk, and let's start with some Monday Night Raw. So, Monday Night Raw started out with some Judgment Day drama. We'll get to that later. We had Damian Priest beat Carlito. We're going to give a quick rundown first. Odyssey Jones match. American Made beat Alpha Academy. Damage Control. And ended in a DQ. Bronson Reed took out The Miz in a similar fashion that he took out Seth Rollins. And Braun Breaker defeated Sami Zayn, best 2 out of 3 falls match. But let's start with how the show started. It was a fun show. I love the start. We had Rhea. Rhea came out to talk. She got interrupted by Liv. She got interrupted by Dom. They had a back and forth. Dom explained why he turned on Rhea, talked about being emasculated by Rhea. And then Judgment Day got the drop on Liv and Dom as Damian Priest snuck up on them, and it led to a really fun, old school, backstage brawl where they're just brawling all over the arena. Liv's trying to help Dom, trying to choke out Damian Priest from behind. And then runs away as soon as Rhea comes into the picture. Overall, that whole segment was just fun. It was just chaotic. And I'd love to see more of that. They announced at Bash at Berlin it's going to be Rhea and Dom versus... It's going to be Rhea and Damian versus Liv and Dom. Hey, Kyle, what's up? Welcome. Do you like how Bronson Reed is being built up as a destructive force? I love it. I think that Bronson Reed could very well, at worst, be a great mid-card monster for years to come. And let's be real, it looks like they're trying to, build him up for a future feud with Seth Rollins. And I think they've done a great job in building him up in such a short amount of time. Just annihilating Seth Rollins. He completely wiped out The Miz. He attacked R-Truth as well. So overall, I think they've done a great job in making sure to build up Bronson Reed, and they've done it in a hurry as well. So I like what they're doing with Bronson Reed. They're giving him direction. We had some teases at the New Day of Xavier Woods turning possibly. We had a funny moment. They called the Final Testament the Final Testicle. And that was overall entertaining. I don't even know how I'd feel about a New Day just turning on each other. I think it'd be interesting. But I feel like they're a group that's just much better together than separate. So I think it'd be interesting to see the New Day turn on each other. But I also am kind of just a bigger fan of just let's keep them together. We don't need to break up every single faction that we got going. Let them cook. Just let them be that faction that rides it out all the way till the end. American Made beat Alpha Academy. Makes sense. They had to get a win. They just lost to the Wyatt Six last week. Bo Dallas talked about there's still work needed to be done in a backstage segment. Speaking of the Wyatt Six, I love how they came off last week. The Wyatt Six looked like $1 million. They showed that they could really wrestle as well as tell a compelling story. And at this point, I'm excited to see when Uncle Howdy or Bo finally is able to step into the ring for the first time. I think that would be great. And I think he's going to knock it out of the park. But let's be real, the biggest highlight of Raw, outside of, I think, the Judgment Day brawling, was the main event. Braun Breaker defeated Sami Zayn in a best 2 out of 3 falls match for the IC title. Listen, that was pretty great. I love seeing that. They're trying to build up Braun Breaker, as you can clearly tell, and not only having him just destroy people, but showing that he's just different, have him putting on great matches. I think the days of building people up like the Goldberg run of him just running through everybody, I think that's done. I think they're doing it right with Braun Breaker and mixing in squash matches, but not only squash matches, they're putting him into situations like, hey, go against Sami Zayn in a best 2 out of 3 falls match. And they're also showing that, hey, this guy not only can beat people in 5 seconds flat, but he can also wrestle longer matches if needed be. So overall, I thought this was a great episode of Raw. There's a lot of fun. Honestly, my favorite picture is definitely just Damian completely popping up behind Liv and Dom. And overall, too, I'm so excited for this. This feud is going to be great. Bash at Berlin, this mixed tag match, it's going to be killer. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's got a great story build. There's so many different ways that you could go about this, because I think it's obvious the end goal should be you're setting up Liv and Rhea to the second for Bad Blood. And I think you probably use this to set up Damian versus Finn for Bad Blood as well. So I think you're going to see Finn Balor get involved. I think that it's tough. I do think that Rhea and Damian do end up winning this match. I think that Rhea pins Liv to make sure to give a really good reason as to why they're having a rematch for the title. But I do think that Finn Balor does get himself involved and takes Damian out of the match, and Rhea just ends up overcoming the odds anyway. Overall, this feud has been absolutely booked to perfection, and I am here for it. And yeah, Braun Breaker, like I said, we are building him up to be a really credible champion. So far, they've done a great job. They've done a great job in trying to build. Does Rhea hit Dom with a riptide? Yeah, I think so. I think they're saving that for the pay-per-view. And I think that crowd in Berlin's going to go absolutely wild when it happens. In fact, I could see that being the ending to the match. Rhea hitting Dom with the riptide, and then Liv tries to take advantage, sneak up from behind, except she counters and also lays her out with the riptide and gives a feel good ending for that pay-per-view, for that match. And over on SmackDown, before I get to SmackDown though, I gotta do a little AEW rant, because AEW, I think it was bad. I don't like just unnecessarily crapping on shows, but I think this one deserved it. This one wholeheartedly, in my mind, deserved it. I thought this week's AEW was bad. We have, first off, the production team messed up big time. We have a gentleman by the name of Jack Perry cutting a promo that gets interrupted by a freaking Taco Bell commercial. Are you kidding me? Let's be real. That's just a rookie mistake. You're telling me you didn't know when the Taco Bell commercial was coming on, and you couldn't time the promo to end before that commercial started? Overall, that was just absolutely terrible. I do think that there was some, criticism about Jeff Jarrett being in the main event in the year 2024, and I think some of that's valid. I do think he put on a great shift. Like, he put on a good, solid match with Bryan Danielson. But I do want them to refrain from any more Jeff Jarrett 2024 main events. But quite frankly, I could overlook all of that because the opening match was really good. Maxwell Jacob Friedman went one-on-one with Kyle Fletcher. And overall, that was an absolute banger of a match. I loved that match. Now, let me tell you what I didn't love. Sammy Guevara. TV time is precious. And I think all TV time, especially on your main show, should be prioritized. Now, we have Sammy Guevara coming out and cutting, first off, a very awkward sounding promo. But not only that you can sound awkward on a promo, using precious TV time to cut a shoot promo on Dave Meltzer, asking, "Where's my star ratings, Dave?" Are you building up a match against Dave Meltzer for All Out? Like, why are we cutting Dave Meltzer shoot promos in the year 2024? That doesn't even make remotely sense. What are we doing here? I like that Dave found his niche. He has his star ratings. That's awesome. I'm here for that. Dave should give us star ratings. We give our opinions, whether you like them or disagree. That's great. But some people just take him as gospel. And even if the fans do, I don't think there should ever be a situation where we're cutting a shoot promo about Dave Meltzer on live TV. Because what's the buildup? Nothing. So to me, that was just effectively could have been the stupidest segment that I've seen all year. Like, you're trying to build up to the biggest pay-per-view. I don't care if why do you care if Dave Meltzer is giving you a star rating? I gave some star ratings. Gene and I did for SummerSlam out of 5 stars. Am I next week? No, focus on the pay-per-view and not star ratings, dude. That just drove me up a wall. I did not understand that at all, and I absolutely hated it. That was an absolute abomination. So, anyway, let's move on to SmackDown. I just had to get that off my chest because that was bad. We had, these are the matches for the night. Quick rundown. The Street Profits beat A-Town Down Under, #1 contenders qualifier match. Jade Cargill won her match. Santos Escobar defeated Andrade in a #1 contenders match for the U.S. title. And DIY beat Pretty Deadly. But let's be real. We all know what the real main event of SmackDown was, what the whole show was built around. Ladies and gentlemen, throw them ones up in the air. The Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, made his return to SmackDown. I was so happy to see that. Roman comes back to SmackDown. Solo calls him out. And he just absolutely obliterates the entire bloodline. Now, I know that Jacob Fatu was missing from this week's episode. I know people were, worried about him at SummerSlam. I think it's the smart thing to do. I read that he's not actually injured, and I think it's great to keep him off TV right now. I would keep him and Roman Reigns away from each other for a while. That's a money match. And the first time those two face off, that pop is going to be insane. Maybe even hold off on having Jacob Fatu come back until, Bad Blood. Let the first face-off be there as he helps Solo beat Roman at Bad Blood. Overall, when it comes to the Tribal Chief coming back, I'm here for you. Just wiped out the entire bloodline. Now, I will say that this is a trend that can't happen every week. They do have to make sure that the bloodline gets some heat back on them. I don't want to sit here and have a situation like when Roman Reigns was feuding with the League of Nations where he's just running through them and there's no suspense because they don't look like a credible threat to him at all. I think Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Solo, and I'm confident Triple H will, let him get over a little on Roman. But I do think that next week, maybe just or the week after, next time Roman's on TV, let the bloodline get the drop on him. Unless you're trying to really build up and have a unless you're gonna wait till Jacob Fatu comes back to really have him get the drop, which I think that'd be a little too long. But overall, I thought this was fun. Really, really showed how dominant Roman was. At the end of the show, he told him he'd give him one more chance. So I guess we'll see Solo's reaction to Roman. See if he does take that one more chance, or how he defies him next, or how he tries to get the jump on him next. Ooh, sorry about that. I think that'll be great TV, and I think overall, the return of Roman Reigns to SmackDown, great success. I do like that out. First night back, definitely let him come in and win, and just kind of beat everybody down, remind everybody how strong he is. But that brings us to the other big news that we got at Bash at Berlin, August 31st. We have ourselves a undisputed WWE title match between Cody Rhodes and the prize fighter Kevin Owens. Now, I thought this one was the setup was a little weird, but honestly, I'm definitely intrigued to see where the story goes, because I've never seen somebody do what Kevin Owens did right there and say no to a title match. Like, they straight up offered him the title match, and he goes, no, I'm not worthy of a title match. I don't think I've really ever seen anybody really turn down a title match like, KO did on Monday, sorry. That was interesting to me. And, we'll get to watch it slowly all build up. I know a lot of people were just criticizing it right from the jump, but this is a great story. I'm really curious to see where it goes. Does it stay respectful between them? Did Cody Rhodes accidentally awaken the prize fighter from NXT, the one who would take out his best friend if it meant getting his hands on the title? So, definitely excited to see where this one goes. And that brings us to the Bash in Berlin card. Now, we learned that Gunther and Randy for the world title last Monday, not this last Monday, but the Monday before that. Randy actually got the drop on him this past Monday, leveled him with the RKO. The build with that's been fun. Gunther just being underrated on the mic like always. He's definitely upped his game on the microphone. That wasn't something he necessarily always looked this comfortable in, but he's been upping his game, and I'm here for it. I love seeing him continue to become more confident. Cody vs. KO, and of course the mixed tag match. And the one thing I almost forgot to talk about from Monday Night Raw, CM Punk got the drop on Drew McIntyre, attacked him with his belt. And honestly, if I had to take a guess where that leads, quite frankly, I think we're just going to end up getting a strap match at Bad Blood. I don't think they push this feud onto the Bash in Berlin card. I think this feud is tailor-made for Bad Blood because, quite frankly, the name of the pay-per-view and the feud just match. So I could see these two having a strap match at Bad Blood. And who knows? Bad Blood is also synonymous with Hell in a Cell matches. Maybe this one, or maybe Rhea versus Liv will be contested inside Hell in a Cell. I think that both of those options would be a ton of fun. But overall, Bash of Berlin's shaping up to be a great card. It's going to have a lot of great wrestling. The storytelling with Rhea, Damian, Liv, and Dom is going to be off the charts great. I'm so excited to see where that goes. Which Speaking of Cody Rhodes, I found this and I thought it was interesting and I thought it was wild. So Dave Meltzer has came out with a report and he said that WWE's initial plan for WrestleMania was to not even have Cody Rhodes on the card. And I think that's crazy. Now, I don't necessarily they said they were going to write him off with an injury angle. I don't necessarily believe that. I think they would have found a way to get Cody onto the card. Even let's say if he wasn't fighting the Rock or wasn't fighting Roman at WrestleMania, I think he was always going to be there. The man's too much of a draw. He brings so much attention to the product. Like, I think it would have been kind of dumb to just completely leave him off the card, or they would have found some way to get him involved. But let's say theoretically this is true. Originally, Cody was never supposed to be at WrestleMania. I think that's wild. I think that would have been like the first biggest misstep of the Triple H era. I think that if he would have actually kept Cody off the card, that would have just been bad. But I don't think Triple H is that dumb. So I'm not sure if I believe Meltzer that Cody originally wasn't supposed to be here. But overall, I did find that interesting. And could you imagine like the WrestleMania without Cody? Like, it would be Rock and Roman, say Seth Drew, and like I'm sure the pay-per-view still would have been fine, but there's a difference between fine and what WrestleMania 40 ended up being, and that is one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, and that doesn't happen without Cody Rhodes. So I'm glad that WWE and crew were willing to pivot off of Rock and Roman as soon as like they saw the backlash and that people wanted Cody. I'm glad they were willing to pivot off that, because now, guess what? We can still do Rock and Roman, let's say at WrestleMania 41. And now the story has a whole lot more meat on the bone, and now we can spend the next year building it up. Well, not at this point, like 6 months. Or we can just WrestleMania 42, Rock and Roman. Because The Rock already said that when he comes back, he's coming back for Cody Rhodes. So maybe WrestleMania 42, but either way, now that I think the match just becomes even more legendary, because now the buildup is going to be that much more insane. So the other thing I wanted to have a little fun talk about, we are getting closer to 2025, the Netflix debut of Raw, which, they'll give me an excuse to get Netflix back. But overall, the GOAT is going on his retirement tour. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know John Cena is going to be retiring in December. He's hanging up the jorts for good. And, I'm curious for anybody watching. I appreciate you guys, Kyle, for hopping in the comments. I'm curious on some opponents that you guys would like to see the GOAT John Cena wrestle before he hangs it up. And I thought I'd throw a couple of mine out there. Now, I don't know if I necessarily want John Cena to win the Royal Rumble. I think it'd be kind of fun. He'd become a 4-time Royal Rumble winner, breaking the tie between him and Stone Cold. No, it'd be 3. That'd be 3, sorry. But overall, I think that at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight title, hey, look at that! Ladies and gentlemen, the GOAT has made an appearance, and no, we're not. John Cena's not popping onto the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, even better, Mo Better.
What's up, Brett? What's up, everybody checking in? I guess I'm late, but better late than never. Was running late, had a lot of stuff going on, but always excited to be on the Meaty Boy podcast. So I'm just happy to be here talking wrestling.
Yeah, no, yeah, actually, this is your debut on the Meaty Boyz podcast.
It is indeed. Yeah, first time.
Need another Cena versus Orton? That's fair. So, I kind of ran over Raw, kind of went over SmackDown, talked a little Judgment Day and Bloodline. So right now, I was just talking about John Cena. He's going on his retirement tour next year, and I was just seeing who are some people that everybody wants to see John Cena face in his retirement tour next year.
Wow, there's such a long list. I wouldn't mind seeing Cena take on Breaker and take the belt from Breaker. And not even hold on to it, but just take it and then turn around and relinquish it because he don't want it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
When you think about Cena's career and everything he's done, the Intercontinental title is kind of secondary in his mind. But I would just like to see him take on Breaker because, look, I've always thought when I look at John Cena and the breadth of his career, Brett, he's very much to me like he's like the LeBron James of wrestling, right? In my opinion. He's not my favorite wrestler. My favorite wrestler, not a secret, is Triple H. I'm just a Triple H guy, but John Cena's done everything. And more importantly, Brett, he's put so many guys over.
Yeah, that's honestly, he spent so much time doing that in the second half of his career here. Like, ever since he stopped doing it, since he lost the United States title in like 2015, this man's been losing a lot more than winning.
Right.
I would honestly love it, and I'm sure some people would hate it, if this man went on one final Super Cena run where he just beats everybody in the next year.
That's it. Even if and let all the matches be a lot of false finishes, and he just grinds it out one way or another. Actually, I take that back. I don't care about Cena versus Von Breaker. I want to see him hurry up and beat LA Knight and take the belt from LA Knight. LA Knight, he sickens me. Somebody's got to beat him.
Oh, I'm sure we're stuck with the LA Knight title reign for at least like 3 months. I'm guessing
that's a painful thought, and I think you're right. But that is a painful thought. He's just so undeserving. He's just a guy. He must really be like one of Triple H's favorite guys, and I don't get it. They took Macho Man and blended him with Stone Cold, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, when it comes to Cena versus Seth Rollins, absolutely.
Oh, I like that matchup, Kyle. I'm with you. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. At some point, I want to see Cena one more time against Roman Reigns.
Cena versus Punk. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the thing with Cena is I do think that obviously at some point that he's going to try to put somebody over, whether that be maybe Braun Breaker beats him, maybe tries to put over somebody else like Ilya Dragunov or adds to the prestige of Gunther. And I think it would just mean like so much more if he just goes on this long winning streak to start and just beats everybody for like the first like half of the year. And then like SummerSlam finally loses to one of them instead of just him coming in and losing the first 4 matches. And
right. But I think he can pull it off. See, unlike Ric Flair, who hung around till he was well past being granddad age and it wasn't believable that he could win a match, John Cena's in his 40s. He can still be a competitive wrestler. He's still athletic. He's still in very good shape. It's more believable that John Cena could wrestle at a high level than some of these other guys. I love Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is tremendous, but like everybody else, Shawn Michaels hung around a little bit too long. I think Cena's got one more run in him if this is really his final run, because you know how wrestlers are, right? They retire and then they get the itch 5 years later and go, I think I got another run. If this is really it for Cena, yeah, I'm with you, Brett. Sign him up to go on this monster run where he takes on the biggest names in wrestling and he more than holds his own. I'm here for all that.
Yeah, he actually talked about that today. Somebody told him about wrestling retirements, and they were talking about it. And he said, after December, there's no amount of money you could put on a check to get me to wrestle another match. So, at least right now to John Cena, this is it for him. And I refuse to acknowledge Shawn Michaels hanging on too long because, listen, to me that match in 2018 never happened.
You don't count that one, right?
Nope.
That didn't happen. I got
Nope.
you. You know what? I'm with you.
Like 2010 was so perfect, and he came out for that one-off match. And I know we kind of have to acknowledge it, but I just refuse to because it was so bad. And I just want to remember Shawn for his 2010 retirement.
I'll take the 2010 retirement. I'm with you. The 2018, we're just gonna black that out.
Right? It's like Ric Flair's final match. It never happened.
Oh God, Rick.
I remember,
and you know what? He's gonna do it again. You watch. We're gonna think Flair's done. He's gonna find some weird promotion that's gonna put him in a match. I don't want to see that. I didn't want to see the last thing. It was embarrassing. I get it, Ric Flair, like a lot of wrestlers, when you become an attention addict, you can't let it go, but you got to let it go.
Yeah, that drove me up a wall because I remember watching it for free on YouTube because I was like, there's absolutely, because I was free that afternoon that the match happened, but I was like, I'm not paying money for this. There is absolutely no shot that this is going to be worth money. And I almost like want to ask them for a refund, and I watched it for free on YouTube. The man literally admitted he had like 3 heart attacks during the match. And I'm just like, and he always talks about how I'm in great shape for one more. It's like, don't, never, please.
No. The funny thing is he's so great on the mic and he's still a great talker. There's a place for him, to me, to be like a guest commentator. I think he would be great as a guest commentator if he could accept that role. The problem with it is his addiction and his ego will always make him think one more match. I can go. Rick, that last match, that was like match number 10 too deep. Like you've done 10 matches too deep on the retirement. Like when Shawn Michaels super kicked him in their match, that should have been your last match. That should have been it, and you couldn't let it go.
Right, like it. I remember being so skeptical when he said, "Yeah, I'm coming out of retirement." I was like, I unfortunately was one of the few that suffered through your TNA matches after like a decade ago. Please don't.
It's tough to let go. I know. Yeah. Look at Triple H. Triple H is still in tremendous shape, but I think Triple H knows it's a wrap. You know what I mean? He's accepted the fact that it's a wrap. And he's much younger than Ric Flair, and he knows it's a wrap. It happens to the best of us. I think, but I think in Cena's case, it's believable that he could put together like one more great run. I'm not saying he's going to end up being the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, but he could go on a bunch of great runs that don't even have anything to do with belts exchanging hands, because there are so many great and big names that he could take on in WWE. Like right now, look at the big guy. What's his name? Bronson
Reed.
Yeah, he just. I can see Cena taking on Bronson Reed. I can see him taking him on and taking him out.
Yeah, honestly, that would be perfect, and that'd almost be like a perfect Cena opponent because he's always made his money overcoming the odds and saying never give up. And Bronson Reed's been on an absolute warpath lately.
And I think it's awesome that he's on this warpath. But my question is, how big a push does he get? Like, he's taken out people, but he hasn't taken out – like, he took out Seth Rollins. That's a big star. But are they going to give him an opportunity to win a belt? That's my question. You know what? I keep coming back to this. Yeah, I'm all for it. Bronson Reed versus LA Knight. Let's go.
Trade him to SmackDown just so we can wrestle and beat LA Knight.
One night only. Go get him.
No, that's fair. I think you'll end up with a championship opportunity at some point out of all this. Worst case scenario, which isn't even a terrible scenario at all, he gets a match for Seth Rollins, I'd imagine, down the road. Maybe that's Seth Rollins' match at Bad Blood. That seems like a very fitting pay-per-view to have that match. Overall, Bad Blood seems like it's going to be a great pay-per-view. I'm already looking forward to it, and they haven't even announced a match yet. Because I have this idea in my head as to what the card's going to be.
Right.
And it sounds amazing.
Let me ask you this. So what's the I know the situation with the bloodline. You said you kind of ran through that, but I wanted to ask you, is Jacob Fatu seriously injured? Because it looked like he hurt himself during that match, but I didn't know if that was part of the match or if he's actually injured.
So that was part of the match. From what I read, and it makes total sense. They're trying to keep him and Roman Reigns away from each other.
Right. It's convenient that Roman came back, beat the hell out of everybody else, and Jacob Fatu wasn't there because that would have been interesting.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a great match, and apparently that's why they're like, yeah, this is a massive match, and we don't actually want Roman and Fatu to have their first interaction yet. So they kind of just wrote him off with the injury angle to make sure that he wasn't around when Roman went on his rampage last Friday.
I got you. So that means at some point, Roman's going to be going on a rampage, and he's going to reappear and attack Roman from behind and get the best of Roman, right? That's how you set up more of the storyline, right?
Oh yeah. Yep, and I'm just waiting to see how they get Sami and Jey Uso back onto SmackDown so we can start getting the OG Bloodline reunion.
They're bringing Sami back. Yeah.
Because as soon as they started talking about, they're like, yeah, we should be tag team champions. I'm like, oh. And I think Ron talked about making a trade with SmackDown, so we're making a deal with SmackDown. I was like, oh, at this point, it feels like they're going to end up sending Jey and Sami over to SmackDown and having them challenge for the tag titles at some point.
I'm here for it. I like Sami and Jey eventually becoming tag team champions. I could see that. Look, Jay's a really good singles wrestler, but there's so many talented stars in this universe. I don't know if Jay's ever going to get that push, Brett, where he becomes a singles champion.
No. Although I do love if they do make Jey Uso a tag title again, I need him to recreate the magic that he had with Cody Rhodes. Don't tell him Don't tell me he has a presser and then just let him have a few drinks on the bus. You saw that, right? After they won the tag titles, and
I did. He was real loose. Yeah, I saw that.
Cody admitted he's like, yeah, they didn't tell us we had a press conference, and we went and had a few drinks, and then they went and grabbed him for it anyway, and that's what led to that glorious moment.
So obviously, we know the next pay-per-view you're going to get Randy Orton versus Gunther. Look. This is nothing against somebody like Randy Orton, who, if Gunther ends up having Randy Orton's career, that's a great all-time career. But you and I both know at this time in his career, Randy Orton's not beating Gunther. You know that. I know that. It's not going to happen. I think that he's still a big star, and I can see down the road maybe him becoming a tag team champion again or whatever. But I don't think at this stage in his career, I don't think Randy Orton's going to hold one of the bigger belts again.
No, I could see him doing it maybe one more time because it almost feels like the allure of having him versus Cena, with both of them trying to break the title record, just seems like too big of a draw not to do. So I could see them pushing for him to get 16 and then have Cena challenge him for the world heavyweight title But I don't think Gunther loses it yet. I feel like he's going to lose it closer to WrestleMania. And quite frankly, it wouldn't surprise me too much if they surprised us and had him drop it to Cena at WrestleMania.
That's the only way I could see him dropping it. I wouldn't be shocked if he is still the champion beyond WrestleMania, because I think ultimately there's so many storylines, but once the Bloodline storyline takes its course, I think this is one of those things where down the road, you're going to see Roman Reigns versus Gunther, right? We're going to see that matchup. And that's ultimately, to me, the guy that he'll eventually lose it to. And I'm not even saying he's going to lose it to him immediately, not right away.
A Cena heel turn in the year 20, I think that's just impossible in the year 2025. As much as I would love to see John Cena with heel mannerisms, here'd be the even bigger question. How would you get somebody to boo John Cena in the year 2025 when he's on his retirement tour? I feel like he's so bulletproof that he could probably just do about anything and everybody would cheer for him.
I think, and I'm sure you can appreciate this, probably 10 years ago, they were talking about a Cena heel turn. It never happened. But I thought that was the time and it didn't happen. I don't see him doing it now, although it would be fun, but I don't see him doing it now. Like 10 years ago would have made sense. Look, he could have done some silly stuff, but at this point in his career, what is he going to do? Grow that weird Hogan beard that he had when he was NWO and have a black beard and come out strumming a guitar? Like, the good thing about Cena is he had a certain gimmick. He's kept that gimmick throughout his career. Shockingly, most guys go through multiple changes. He's been the same dude for the breadth of his career, so I don't see him changing now. But there was a time when I was rooting for John Cena to become a heel.
The only time I thought it was going to happen, I thought that's what they were leading to back in 2012 between him and The Rock, when they just started throwing like the verbal haymakers at each other. I thought that was leading to the big heel turn. The John Cena real heel turn, wears full jeans instead of jorts.
They said he goes shade for the heel turn, right? Right. I mean, and let's be honest, Kyle. If we've been looking at Cena, he's already got that Friar Tuck thing in the back of his head, so he's already started balding. So he's trying to musk it up. But yeah, I could. You know what? Cena completely bald, that would be a completely different look.
If I was going to do one thing with John Cena before he retired, and I think would just be a real fun nostalgia throwback for a lot of people. Can we have one event in the Hammerstein Ballroom in Philadelphia and try to recreate that then and now pick of John Cena back in 2006 fighting Rob Van Dam at One Night Stand, getting booed, people wanting to attack him, to now 2025, him entering the Hammerstein Ballroom again, but this time everybody's on his side. I just think it'd just be a lot of fun to have an event there with the Cena retirement tour, just because of the history that John Cena has at that place.
I like that. Look, Cena is very unique because he came out early in his career and he grew a following, and then they loved him. And then at some point, Brett, and you know this, they stopped loving him, even though he didn't change, had the same gimmick, and they started hating him. They started rooting against him. And then he became the guy they loved to hate, even though he didn't become a heel. He never became a heel. And then they started loving him again. It's a really incredible relationship that he's had with the WWE universe. But to his credit, he never broke character. He has been the same guy throughout his career. And I like the idea of him going back to some place like that with historic value for not just him, but the fans. Look, I feel like if you're going to make this once in a lifetime last run in WWE, not just revisit going against some of the great wrestlers right now, maybe try to reenact some, not copy a match, but bring back some old matches. Have John Cena dressed like a lumberjack with jeans on and have a bunkhouse match against somebody. Like let's go. Let's have some fun with this. I want John Cena going out in a blaze of glory, doing everything. I don't care if for one night only he does an ECW like match. I just think that you only get one shot to go out the right way. A lot of guys has gone out, but they've come back. I think Cena's going to do it right. He's very unique. I think when he puts up the boots, Brett, he's not going to be one of those guys like, I'll be back in 10 years from now in the next WrestleMania. I don't see that. I think he'll come back, but he'll come back as a guest or a commentator, but I don't think you'll see him in a ring again. So this last run, I just hope they pull out all the stops and try to make all the matches bigger than life.
Absolutely. And this Cena versus CM Punk, something I need to see. But when they have this match, I know they'll be tempted. The United Center has 20,000 seats. It's much bigger than what I'm about to suggest. But I would love it if they had this match, once again, just for the historical value of what it means to this rivalry in general, at the Allstate Arena. Because we know the Allstate Arena in 2011, John Cena versus CM Punk at Money in the Bank, where just Punk beat him for the title and blew Vince McMahon and the entire company a kiss goodbye as he took the title hostage.
Right.
So I would absolutely love it if we, like I said, go all in, but not only just revisit these guys for just historical reasons. If we're going to revisit some of these rivalries, let's try to do it at some of the places that it was just most fondly remembered at, too. Cena Punk, Chicago. And then
I'm here for it.
I'd say I still go back and watch that match. That was one of my favorite matches of all time. Just the whole lead up and everything with CM Punk. And I never thought he was going to. It was one of those matches I never thought he was going to win until he did. And I was like, oh, what in the world?
Great match. I don't know if I can't remember a bad match when they were at their peak between Cena and Randy Orton. They were amazing matches. You're talking about two of the absolute greats just going at it at the peak of their powers. That rivalry was every bit as good as Rock Triple H, maybe better.
I'll say Cena Orton. It's just great to see everything come full circle because I remember like that fought so much that when they had that match in that like the Royal Rumble 10 years ago, everybody was hating on it. They're like, we're done. We never want to see Cena versus Orton again. Please retire. And now everybody's like, okay, no, we need this match again. And it just shows what time will do to a feud. Like,
Agreed.
and why you don't want to oversaturate wrestlers. Because, like, that's a great example. This just went from 10 years ago being the most unattractive feud imaginable to now everybody's like, this needs to happen. And quite frankly, if it does happen, just give it to me at WrestleMania. John Cena and Randy Orton have never had a proper one-on-one WrestleMania match. And I think if there was a place for this to happen, WrestleMania 41 in Vegas, just give me Cena and Orton.
Look, I trust in Triple H and the creative team. I think we do get that, but who knows? Triple H might throw us for a loop, and they might let Cena and Orton win the tag team championships together. That would be kind of crazy. I think everything's on the table because Cena is one of the all-time greats, and I think with Triple H in charge of creative, I think it's going to do a lot of things. The Cena Pat McAfee thing is kind of interesting, but you and I both know Pat McAfee would get the beating of his life. I don't know how good a match it would be. It would be fun if you like seeing Pat McAfee get beat up, but I don't know how great the match itself would be.
Pat McAfee, he was such a much better wrestler than I anticipated. He was really good. Granted, I still can't get the stink out of him versus Vince McMahon from WrestleMania 38 out of my head. That was just a tough watch in general, but Pat McAfee, just kind of like Logan Paul, is just kind of like a natural at it. But I think that John Cena at the end of the day at WrestleMania, I think it's going to be either Gunther or Randy Orton versus him. And if Randy Orton versus Cena is the match at WrestleMania, and I'll call it right now, I think Gunther's opponent at WrestleMania, they're going to try to recreate the magic from NXT UK. And I think it's Gunther and Ilya Dragunov. I don't know if anybody has seen that match at NXT UK where Ilya Dragunov did end Gunther's longest reigning UK championship streak. It was hard hitting. It was an absolute banger. And I think the big thing with Ilya, too, is right towards the end of his NXT run, he showed that he had character. He can be entertaining. Him versus Tony D'Angelo going into Philly, that was some must-see TV. That was a great feud. And I honestly think Triple H will hold off on that match until WrestleMania season. We're going to see it either at Mania or right before it at the Royal Rumble.
Dragunov is a monster. And I know it takes everything in Triple H's power to kind of hold him off. Like, I get it. They've basically made Von Breakker into, you could say, I would say, a modern day Goldberg to an extent. But I think wrestling is one of those kind of businesses where it's not the short-term burst. It's the guy that's going to be an elite performer 10, 15 years down the road, barring an injury. I think Dragunov is going to be one of those dudes. Barring an injury, Dragunov is going to be a more physical, a more imposing version of Shawn Michaels. Not the biggest guy in the ring, but the biggest heart, Underrated strength, incredible performer. I just think the sky is the limit for him. Like, he's not wearing a belt now, but it is only a matter of time before he's the guy. And it's going to be fun to watch because he's not one of the biggest guys in WWE, but he's one of the most entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to Bash in Berlin, Bad Blood. Next month I'm actually going to AEW. I'm going to All Out, and I'm hopefully going to the Dynamite before, which is in Milwaukee. It's going to be a great time.
Is Swerve Strickland still the champ?
Yep.
Okay. I don't watch AEW as much as some. It's one of those kind of things. I love wrestling, but AEW is something that I just look in on from time to time because there are a lot of familiar faces that I remember and I were fans of. When I see Samoan Joe, I'm a huge Samoan Joe fan. I thought Samoan Joe was just one of those dudes that can wrestle any style. So I'm a fan of Samoan Joe. It's fun to see some of the familiar names, but you also know at the same time, a lot of these guys are well past their prime.
Yeah, he's actually at the next pay-per-view. It's him versus Bryan Danielson for the title.
Two former WWE guys kind of going at it. The thing about Danielson is I think he's fun to watch to a degree, but man, that whole yes thing, I got so sick of that. I found myself being one of the people cheering for it, but at some point it got sickening.
Yeah, no, he actually hasn't used that like at all in AEW. I think he's used it for like one match, but I'll give him a lot of credit. It's not often you see guys try to recreate themselves this late in their career. He's done exactly that. He hasn't tried to be just the guy that just runs around saying yes and has great matches. He's told different stories. Cena versus Miz or Cena versus R-Truth. Cena versus R-Truth. There we go. Give R-Truth a match against this hero. Honestly, I'll take it.
I think that match ends with Cena just laughing and stuff because R-Truth's going to entertain him. R-Truth is going to get distracted, go outside, talk to somebody, get counted out. Yeah, I'll watch it.
I'm like this. That seems like a perfect match for like a random episode of Raw. Like,
yes, exactly. Not a pay-per-view match, but definitely a great matchup for a random episode. Look, R-Truth is just he's kind of had a second career of his own, right, Brett? Like, we thought he was gone, and I think his career has been kind of revived because A, he stays in great shape, and B, he's entertaining as hell in or outside of the ring. So he's just a really good character.
He was so funny on Monday, accidentally getting Miz a match with Bronson Reed instead of Braun Breaker. That whole thing was hilarious.
Although the Breaker thing, I don't think that would have worked out well for Miz either. So, you know.
I'll give R-Truth a lot of credit. He went from a guy who at one point everybody thought about I remember in TNA they thought he was going to be a main eventer around the Truth Killings, R-Quick. And he just showed how much diversity he has to his character. And it's not everybody can be that much of a creative genius and just show that much depth in the character. But no matter what role you give him, he just knocks it out of the park.
He does. He maxes out every opportunity he gets when he's on camera, when he's on the mic. And it always comes off genuine. Like, if he wasn't at a WWE event, I feel like, Brett, if we were just hanging out with him, he would be the same guy. You know what I mean? Like, he'd be fun-loving. He'd be joking around. He'd have you laughing. Like, he would be a blast to hang out with.
Oh, absolutely. I'll say that's all I had for today, Mo. Do you have any other questions or anything you want to add, sir?
No, I had fun hopping on. I'm still on a high because this is my first episode on the Meaty Boyz podcast, so I'm excited. I promise everybody out there, next week Mo will be on time. Matter of fact, I won't be on time. There's this thing in the Army to go, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, God help you, I will be early.
Yeah, it sounds good. Looking forward to it. I figure maybe next week I'll have a little fun. Thought we'd start, maybe try to do some fantasy booking, book our dream pay-per-view. Just, have a little fun outside of talking about the shows. We thank everybody that tuned in. Kyle, appreciate you for hopping in on the comments, and everybody who tuned in or is listening in the future. Thank you all, and I hope you all have a great night.